I'd like to announce that we had an executive session prior to our meeting at 7 p.m. to discuss personnel and legal issues. Please stand and salute the flag. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Ms. Borowski.
Mrs. Kozer? Here. Mrs. Eldred? Present. Mr. LoCascio?
Here.
Mrs. Maines? Here. Mr. Music? You have to leave. Okay. Mr. Obardo?
Here.
Mr. Palmer?
Here.
Dr. Zorch? Ms. Hassan? Mr. Hauser?
Here. At this time, I'd like to open the floor to hearing of visitors part 1. This is where you have an opportunity to come to the podium, announce your name and address, and comment on anything on the agenda for this evening. Seeing no one, I move for adoption of resolution number 102, approval of the minutes.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and second. Questions or comments on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes. Solicitors report, Mr. Nichols. It's mine now.
I actually have something around here. I recommend that you move on resolution number 103, the settlement of the Lowe's Home Center tax assessment appeal.
Second. We have a motion on the floor and second. Questions or comments on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes.
Nothing further on the solicitor's report, Mr. President.
Oh, thank you. Education and planning, Mrs. Maines.
Yes, thank you. Unfortunately, our students got caught in the ice this evening and called and said they couldn't make it. So we'll probably talk to them the next month, I guess, because we're having another meeting. The EWCPC Student of the Month is also canceled. We're going to do that in December. We'd like to welcome Mr. Jim Somerville from PSBA to do some honor roll awards.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me? Okay, good evening, everybody. My name is Jim Somerville. I work for the Pennsylvania School Boards Association. Spend a lot of my time calling on about 167 schools in Western Pennsylvania to talk to school board directors and administrators, particularly superintendents, of what PSB is doing to help support the membership. One of the other things I get to do, which I really get a kick out of, is going out and presenting what we call honor roll awards. Honor roll awards were conceived back in 1983 by PSBA as a way of recognizing school board directors across the Commonwealth who have achieved what we call milestone years of service on their board. One of the other fun things I got to do tonight, though, was come back and see Susan Maines, who was a board member when I worked at IU7, and Kay Elder, who I met when I first got on the board in Kiski area back in 1999. I'd have to give Kay credit for being my mentor. It's always got to see Dr. Tepper and Mr. Watson as well. So it's been a nice trip from northern Westmoreland County and Kiski area back to Detroit. Without further ado, though, the honor roll awards are given out to people for milestone years of experience. A lot of people may not know this, but we consider school board service to be the purest form of public service in that you are not compensated. You are basically donating your time and efforts and talents on behalf of your communities, and especially the educational community here in Greater Detroit. Some people may not realize that the current seated board and all past board members are part of a great legacy. The Pennsylvania School Boards Association is the oldest school boards association in the United States, and we will be celebrating our 125th anniversary next year. So look for some things to come in line with us celebrating that milestone. I have several certificates to give out this evening, and my understanding is there's a couple of folks that had to leave, so I'm going to proceed as though they're here. First person I was going to recognize is Eric Hauser. And Mr. Hauser, you are the board president and past vice president. And a lot of people who serve on school boards, and maybe more so those who don't, know that there are some extra things that come with being an officer on the board. There's a little bit more work, building the agenda, managing meetings, controlling deliberation, the executive session, etc. So thank you for your service. The other thing I have here is another award for Mr. Music, but I understand that Mr. Music is not with us this evening, and Mr. Zorch as well. I do have an award for Susan Maines. As I mentioned, the awards are given out to people for achieving milestone years of service. Once you hit 8 years of service, you get a certificate, and then after that, you get a certificate every 4 years thereafter until you hit 24 years on your board. For those folks who are getting a certificate, it reads as follows. A certificate of appreciation for school directors Eric Hauser, Merle Music, Michael Zorch, and Susan Maines. She gets a plaque. And it's in the Greater Latrobe School District in recognition of ongoing school board service and the long-term contributions of individuals who bring their energy, talent, and values to the guidance of youth and public education in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So before I go, I will be glad to distribute these to the honorees. I had mentioned that once you hit 24 years of service, you get a glass plaque. And it gives me pleasure to present this to Susan Maines, who is inscripted as follows. Susan Maines, Greater Latrobe School Director. She has given 28 years of service to the Greater Latrobe Area School District. So Susan, congratulations. These certificates as well, but I have one more award to give out before I leave, so everybody would just bear with me, please.
Mrs. Maines, while he's doing that, as someone who's much older than myself, I would like to congratulate her.
Thank you so much.
And we could tell everybody why you're so much older.
Well, Steve and I were actually born in the same year, the same month, but I was born 2 months,
2 days
weeks before. So I'm much older.
She looks a lot younger.
Yes? Oh, yes. You're right. It's terrible. Yeah, market it.
The final award that I'm going to give out tonight is one that we're going to give out posthumously. Everybody knew Conrad Laser. He was a past president here at Greater Latrobe and vice president of the Greater Latrobe Board. At the time of his passing, he was serving as the vice president and also on the grounds committee or the facilities committee here at Greater Latrobe. I talked to some people affiliated with the school district, currently and formerly, and they all told me that he had a way of trying to help the board reach compromise on very difficult issues. He was somebody who tried to build consensus, which is a great talent for a board member. He also did what was best for the kids. The story goes like this. His son was playing football, and there was no running water at the football field. And he took some initiative to see if they couldn't get some water there. And with that, he was encouraged to run for the school board. And some people in the community must have gotten his ear, and he ran for the school board, and he served here for, I believe, 20 years. Mr. Laser, as you all know, founded and was the president of his furniture company. And I was told that his nickname was the CEP, or the Chief Executive Patty. And I understand he was also a big supporter of Villanova Wildcat basketball, so that brought back some great memories of the Big East when Raleigh Massimino was the coach at Villanova. This evening I do have a plaque and a certificate to award to Mr. Laser's son, Sean, if you would please come forth. And I believe Hayden, his grandson, is here as well.
Thank you. Thanks. Great.
You guys take care. Thank you. Thank you. Good luck. Congratulations. Good luck. Thank you, guys.
Again, if we could just thank all of our board members for their service. Again, the number of hours that they dedicate to our students and our entire school community. So if we could just give them a round of Thank you, Jessica.
Next on the agenda, we have a social emotional learning presentation. Do you want to introduce that?
Absolutely. So we have a group of individuals this evening, both administrators and teachers from central office building level, giving us a presentation on social emotional learning. So the floor is yours. We'll move out of the way. We'll get the presentation up. Jessica, you think we need some lights off? Oh, there we go. We're good. That's not good enough. That's too good. Set them off. Put it back on.
Which, I only turned 2 off. I turned 1 back on. That's it. You get one or the other.
Leave that.
That?
Go for it, Steve.
Hello, and thank you for welcoming us to talk to you about a topic tonight that we're all very excited about and excited to present to you all. Social emotional learning, or SEL, is something that the research is really suggesting to us and that we believe is going to have a profound impact on our students, not only today, but moving forward into the future. So the question is, what does it look like here at Greater Latrobe, and what are some outcomes that it could have that are positive for our students? So anyone that is watching TV within the last couple months or last couple years or reads the newspaper is seeing a lot of trends, not only nationally, but statewide and within our own county as a whole. We see these concerns with mental health, anxiety, and depression. The rates are consistently on the rise. Not only with that area, but we're talking about concerns with substance abuse as well. And then when we talk to our employers, we're seeing concerns with social skills, communication skills, and just a general lack of resiliency in our kids today. So what we wanted to do is do something that was less reactive to this information, and we wanted to be more proactive. And we wanted to implement a program that incorporates social emotional learning and mindfulness in the hopes of preventing some of these concerns moving forward into the future.
Thanks, Gina.
So I can't thank the board enough. A little under a year ago, I came to the board and I said, we are really excited about implementing social emotional learning class at the junior high. But we're not sure we have the curriculum yet, and we're not exactly sure what it's going to look like. And I can't thank you enough for having faith in our team as a whole to find what was going to suit Greater Latrobe the very best. And we think that we have done that. So we all appreciate that from the bottoms of our heart, because it's something that we see in our kids. We're very concerned about some of the issues we're dealing with, and we want to be doing something to help them. So in that process, Gino and I spent hours and hours kind of going through different social emotional learning curriculums, and we were unsuccessful in our hunt. Luckily enough, we were invited up to Borough High School in the spring to actually see a presentation by Scarlett Lewis on a social emotional learning curriculum that she developed. Now, Scarlett Lewis, if you don't know who she is the mother of one of the first graders at Sandy Hook Elementary School, one of the students that was killed in that horrible, horrible massacre. And she basically has made it her life mission to increase school safety, to improve school safety through social emotional learning. And she has created this Jessie Lewis, Jessie being the name of her son, Jessie Lewis Choose Love curriculum. And she is a phenomenal speaker. She had amazing things to say. Gino and I went along with a group of teachers and we came back completely moved. Not just because of the tragedy of her story, but because of what she was doing in the field of social emotional learning and the effect she was having on thousands and thousands of students through this Choose Love curriculum. So making that decision, seeing that presentation, we came back, we made the decision to actually choose to implement the Jessie Lewis Choose Love movement curriculum. And that curriculum has 4 basic pillars, and those pillars you can see right up there: courage, gratitude, forgiveness, and compassion in action. And those 4 things, she says, are the formula for choosing love. And that's what we're looking at here in our curriculum. Now, at the elementary and the secondary level, the curriculum is being implemented slightly differently. We function very differently at elementary and at junior high. In the elementary, the curriculum is completely integrated and being taught by the grade level teachers. At the junior high, and that curriculum actually is going to be happening all year long. You're going to hear the elementary teachers talk about what they've been able to accomplish in October and November and what they're looking to move towards through the rest of the school year. At the junior high, it's a little bit different. At the junior high, we were lucky enough to be able to create that 45-day course, and it's considered a 45-day, 9 weeks unified arts course, and it's open for 7th and 8th graders. So it's a mixture of both 7th and 8th graders. And I can't thank my 2 teachers enough, because I went to them in March of last year and said, so I have this idea, we have this, we're going to implement a social emotional learning. We don't have a curriculum yet, but we're looking and we are evaluating, and you're going to be part of this decision every step of the way. And they said, we're in, we're going to do this, this is really important. So you're going to hear from them as well. Now, the Choose Love curriculum comes with some staff training, and all of our teachers at the junior high level and the elementary level have completed that online training. The elementary completed that in August. The November in-service that was just this past week is when our junior high teachers went through that curriculum. So just to learn a little bit more about the actual curriculum, you'll meet Scarlett Lewis in this video, talking a little bit about her story and her mission to choose love.
My name is Scarlett Lewis, and I'm the founder of the Jessie Lewis Choose Love movement. I started this organization following the murder of my 6-year-old son, Jesse McCord Lewis, at Sandy Hook Elementary School in 2012. Following the tragedy, I decided to become part of the solution to the issues that we're experiencing, not only in schools, but in our society as well. It's called social and emotional learning, which basically means learning how to have healthy relationships, deep and meaningful connections, skills and tools for resilience, and learning how to manage our emotions. We are not born with these abilities. They need to be learned, and they're essential to a happy and healthy life. It teaches personal responsibility, giving kids an awareness of who they are and an understanding and compassion for others. There are decades of scientific research that validate the power of this type of learning as it relates to the long-term well-being of a child. In fact, studies show that children who have access to SEL in their classrooms not only have better grades, test scores, and graduation rates, but they experience reduced anxiety, depression, substance abuse, incarceration, and even fewer divorces later in life.
So the real key to this whole idea is personal responsibility brings you happiness. And you can't avoid personal responsibility, even though the vast majority of us have attempted to do this many, many times in our lives, but it just never works. Go back to Albert Einstein's comment, the world isn't sustainable until we learn how to think in a different way. So the idea of the Choose Love curriculum to teach kids to choose love over fear, anger, disconnection was born. If we can teach kids this beginning very young, it will dramatically change their lives.
I get to go into classrooms and teach guidance, and all of these skills they're social, emotional, and they fit with my curriculum.
SEL proactively reduces and prevents the suffering before it even starts. It is my mission in life to make sure that every child has access to this life-transforming and life-saving learning. Thus, the creation of the Choose Love Enrichment Program for educators, their students, and parents. This comprehensive social and emotional learning program focuses on empowering students by teaching them that they have the power to choose love and giving them a formula for doing this in any situation. The program focuses on cultivating thoughtful responses as opposed to impulsive reactions. Going through this program will help you be part of the solution. Information you can hear once and never forget. It will always be a tool in your toolbox. You might not always use it, but it will always be there. We start within our own hearts, and this ripples out into the world and impacts so many others. Going through this program will help you be part of the solution. Thank you for choosing love and helping to create a safer, more peaceful, and loving world.
So that was Scarlett Lewis. She's an extremely powerful speaker. I would invite you all absolutely to attend when she comes to Greater Latrobe in January. So I'm stealing a little bit of thunder here at elementary principals, but she's amazing. Bring your tissues, but she is extremely, extremely powerful. But without further ado, I have Ms. Holly Wilkerson here to talk to you about the junior high level social emotional learning course that we've called MindWorks. We are implementing the Choose Love, Jesse Lewis Choose Love movement curriculum in that course. So, Holly.
Good evening. So I'm here to tell you a little about each of the pillars and what we do in the course. In the 9 weeks, we spend approximately 2 weeks in each of the pillars. So we begin with courage, and students learn a bit about self-confidence and doing the right thing even when things are difficult. We talk about the parts of the brain, which is important for them to understand as we move throughout the rest of the pillars. One of the activities that we do within the courage unit is something called Pleased to Meet You. We talk about various emotions and how we're affected by our emotions. And so one of the activities is they have to pick an unpleasant emotion that they don't like dealing with, and they have to create it into a character, and then they have to deal with this character and have a conversation in a positive, healthy manner. They're not allowed to run away, and they're not allowed to ignore it. And we've got some pretty cool ideas for the students, how they view these emotions, but also they begin to think about when these arise in their everyday life, how are better ways to deal with them and cope. Our second pillar is gratitude. We talk about understanding and expressing gratitude. We talk a lot about having an attitude of gratitude, which releases serotonin and dopamine in the brain, which increases happiness and reduces depression. We talk a lot about what we're thankful for, and it's pretty incredible what students realize how many things are going good for them, and to focus on that kind of things in their life. We do an activity called Make a Mistake Great. We talk about mistakes are finding opportunity to be grateful for learning something new and moving forward. And so they were given, as we talk about the discussion, they're given a piece of paper with a mistake on it, and they're not allowed to erase it or get rid of it, and they have to figure out something to do with it. And the creativity behind it was phenomenal, but the discussion was even more important. We also did a gratitude reflection. We did 40 minutes where I had the students get comfortable, and we listened to a walkthrough of things to be thankful in one day. And they all, afterwards, said, wow, I feel good, I feel happier, I feel better to tackle my day, and all that stress and anxiety that some of them were feeling. They said, it's still there, but it's over here now. It's pretty cool for them to experience, and I wasn't sure if they were going to take to it or not. They definitely did. The third one is forgiveness, a difficult concept for some, but we talk about a positive mindset and moving forward from difficult situations and learning to forgive. We talk about forgiving doesn't necessarily mean forgetting or accepting any hurtful actions. We talk about identifying emotional triggers and anger cues. One interesting conversation that was had is that there was a student in the office who was experiencing some anger issues, and they were talking about, we got to find a way to put a lid on it. And he threw his hands up and said, that's exactly what we're talking about in MindWorks, and referred to our model, our hand model of the brain, and how we flip our lid and let our emotions show, and how we need to recognize our responses to certain emotions to cope, deal, and react better with a positive mindset.
And I just have to interrupt. That student was in my office, and unfortunately, the conversation happened there. I said, "Oh no, you learned that in MindWorks? Tell me all about it. What are you thinking about that class?" And then our conversation totally transformed to something else. He wasn't angry when he left, but he was giving a lot of insight, because I said, sometimes you just have to put a lid on it, and he said, "Oh my goodness, that's what we're talking about right now." So it was a pretty exciting moment for me and for him. And then it was pretty exciting for Holly when I told her as well.
The last pillar is compassion, and we talk about being sensitive to others, practicing empathy, and being in service to those who are in need. We talk a lot about understanding the difference between empathy and sympathy, and this was a big discussion in the class, and many students were able to participate and also talk about times when people were empathetic versus when people were sympathetic, and what a difference those words make in those situations, and sharing personal experiences, and learning from each other and connecting with one another. Our final project for the class, we did a random acts of kindness project where students were placed into teams and they had to design random acts of kindness to perform in the junior high. And interesting enough, they really enjoyed creating them, but I allowed 2 days for the students to do the acts of kindness, anticipating if someone was absent or they needed more time. The majority of groups were able to do it in the first day. The second day, they came to me and said, "I feel so good about doing that. Can we do it again?" I don't think I've ever had many students ever asked to do a project again and said, "There's no extra credit, there's nothing, you're not getting an extra grade." And they said, "That's okay, because I feel really good doing this." And that was for me, in closing the class, that they had really taken a lot of this to heart, and it meant a lot to them.
So Holly has taught 2 sections through the first 9 weeks, and we put a total of 36 students through the first 9 weeks on those 2 sections. This 9 weeks, the second 9 weeks, she's joined by Ms. Abigail Mahalik, and there are a total of 138 kids taking the course just this 9 weeks through 7 total sections between the 2 of them. So we're getting a lot of kids through this course, and the feedback we're getting is unbelievable. Holly did a survey at the end of that first 9 weeks and about what our students thought, what changes we should make to the curriculum, their favorite activities, their least favorite activities, and it was so insightful. This is from the student who was in my office, and I said, "Oh, no way, you learned that in MindWorks?" He said, "I wish I could spend every day, all day in that class. I need it." And he was being completely honest. He is a kid that on the outside looks like he has it all put together, and you would never know that he's got some struggling situations in the background. Really, really great kid, but really grateful that he had the opportunity to be in that class. One of the questions asked about what concept you could use throughout the rest of your life, and really interesting answers to this question also. One student answered, "I can use kindness and not be scared to. I know how to use kindness and not be scared." That's insightful, and it's moving for me. Same question, the student answered, "Probably gratitude. Being grateful helps out my mind a lot. Being grateful improved my mood." And one of the comments, you have this survey and all these questions, and then there's open space on the paper. And this particular student, I read every single survey. scribbled like on the side of the survey going up the side. Thank you for teaching this class. It has really let me open up. This class is so amazing. I wish everyone had the chance to have this class. We're hoping that starting with this 7th grade class, we are going to be able to get every student into this class. Another question, what would you tell someone who doesn't believe this class is necessary? Answer from a student, I would tell them that it is really essential to be able to relax, reflect, and become a better person. And then same question, I would tell them that it is good for stress and it can really help you develop a different mindset. So our 7th and 8th graders are making these comments about a course they're involved in. And that tells me that these kids are thinking, they're learning, they're considering their emotions, their actions, their reactions. And that's where we get more proactive versus reactive. That's where we find success. So we are so excited at the way this implementation is going at the junior high level. I know that elementary is finding huge successes as well and really enjoying the program. And at this point, we're going to turn it over to them so they can talk a little bit about what they're doing at the elementary school.
Believe it or not, at the elementary level, we are getting young students who are coming in with major anxiety, a lot of struggles. We're seeing a lot of behavior. So we felt as a team that we really needed to do something to help these students. So when Lindsay and Gina started talking about the social emotional learning piece, we jumped on board. And as a team, we felt that we needed a consistent curriculum. We needed to talk the same language, do the same things, because everything we are doing at our level is preparing the students for when they go to that junior high level. So you will see that we chose the Choose Love movement also. The implementation is slightly different. Our conversation really honed in on how are we going to roll it out, who's going to teach it. We have school counselors. We also have encore teachers that may be able to have time in their day, but we decided the classroom teacher is the best person to teach this. They are the people that are with these children most of the day, and so then we did go through the whole training component, and that's how we decided to roll this out. So we do have the grade level teachers teaching it. It's a curriculum that is going to follow for us by the months. So we're following the same pillars that you heard them talk about: courage, gratitude, forgiveness, compassion, and you can see how we're dividing it out. For each pillar, there's probably about 5 to 7 lessons that the teachers can choose, and then they pace themselves based on how they can do that within their grade level and within the content. I would like to give a shout out to Marissa Capuzzi. Where is she? Hiding in the schmizzy. Oh my goodness, how long have you been there? She teaches at Mountview. I don't get to see her very often, but who took this summer, did some pilot lessons with some of the students who were in summer school, and then she took the curriculum and paced it all out for every grade, K to 6. So we appreciate all of the dedication that she has given to this and her involvement in it.
Within those lessons for each module, there are many rich activities that the students are able to do that go along with the discussion and the teaching of the different strategies. One of the activities you'll see up in the top right-hand corner, the students have created a Choose Love journal that gives them an opportunity to reflect on the lesson and maybe the strategy that they were taught. You will see this one, I know it's hard to see. They talk, the student here actually highlights in her journal, brave breathing, brave breaths. And you can see our little kindergarten friend here practicing brave breathing, because that is a common strategy that is taught and reinforced throughout all of the lessons and all of the grades. You'll see this is another kindergarten piece here. They also talk about, they call it deep breathing in their journal entry, but they use that strategy as a solution to not kicking the chair. That's their replacement activity, and I think that's great, because they're stopping, they're being proactive, we're not going to kick the chair, we're going to stop, we're going to do our brave breathing, and we're going to process through it. As the students get older, the activities get a little bit deeper. This is an activity from a 5th grade classroom where they created a Courage app, and the students talked about what that app would provide for them and when they would need to use it. And one of the students here writes, "It will tell me how to breathe and when I need to breathe." So again, we're going back to the breathing. One of the benefits of having all of our teachers trained and using it throughout the day, there is a great connection to literature when they can. This is a 6th grade student who the class was reading Hatchet. If you've read Hatchet, you know that Brian needs to be very courageous within the story. They talk about, they make a connection with Brian and his level of courage and what that looked like. And then at the bottom, they talk about a real-life experience they had where they had to show courage. I wish you could see this one because I thought it was great. It was a student who was out trick-or-treating and saw somebody, I think they were corning the house. She knew that she knew it wasn't right, it was very inappropriate, but she was very afraid to make that step to go to the house and say to the kids, "You need to stop, this isn't okay." But what she did do is build up enough courage the next day to go to that house, let the people know that they knew who did it, that she knew who did it, and that she didn't think it was right, and she apologized. So like, it's really great that the teacher was able to take the lesson that she had taught about courage, but then incorporate it into their everyday teaching too, with that literature base. And that happens quite a bit through all of the grade levels. Just to add in with some of the examples, Lindsay had brought from the junior high, they have their journal that they keep their information in. And just as this looks for a junior high student, it goes the whole way down. This is what it looks like in kindergarten. Here's their journal that they're writing. Here's their brave breathing, so on and so forth. So you have what it goes to in the junior high, but what it starts with their youngest learners all the way up through the junior high. So you can see how that consistent curriculum from K to 8, we're able to use the same vocabulary, and as the kiddos get to their class at the junior high, they're going to have some of those strategies already in their back pocket. So when they do come to the principal's office and they're having a rough day, immediately we know we can say, what's a strategy you need to use in this moment? And that's already happening with some of our kiddos, and they will say, I need to take a brave breath. You're right, let me see it. Boom, and we're able right away to start the brave breathing. How is it? Okay, now we can talk about it, because now you're available to talk about it before you weren't available to talk about it. So I think it's interesting to see from our youngest learners to our 8th grade learners how much it can be consistent. It's the same pillars, but yet how we're able to scaffold it throughout the grade levels. And so the last slide we have here is just a shout out to the foundation, our Greater Latrobe Partners in Education Foundation. We received an $18,000 grant for the social emotional learning for K to 12. So it's not just for the K to 8, the Choose Love program, but it also is for 9 through 12, what they're doing here at the high school. And then finally here, January 20th, we do have it secured for Scarlett Lewis. She's going to be coming here for professional development with our K to 8 staff. She will be speaking with all the K to 8 staff, and then we're looking at some small groups learning with her for the teachers that are actually implementing the curriculum during that day in January. So we are thankful that we have the foundation that's supporting this movement for our students. Without them, we wouldn't be able to have some of the professional development that we need to make this a successful implementation. So thank you. Any questions for any of us?
I don't have a question, but I'd like to make a comment. You know, I know education's become data-driven, and everybody's looking at state tests, and this will never come up on a state test.
Yeah.
But the potential that this has to have a profound effect on our kids is just tremendous. So thank you for what you're doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I will tell you, I agree, it's not going to show up in the data, but where it will show up is the students will have the strategies so they can take care of their emotions in the moment in their classroom, and they're not spending time in offices or waiting to speak to a counselor because they're able to stay in the classroom and use their strategies in the moment.
So are you telling us that you now have more free time than one other?
Yes!
Yeah, no,
did with the other first school.
I still see some pretty high class numbers, is that working out okay?
It is what it is at this point. We've got some supports in place in those areas where they're high, doing the best that we can. We always evaluate, reevaluate. Some of those numbers aren't exactly as high as they may look based upon placements within a grade level, but it's that last wave of folks that comes in. It seems like everybody that moves in has a kid in that particular grade. It's hard to plan, but we do the best that we can, truthfully. And if it's something that we can readjust for next year, we'll absolutely do it, just like we did this year.
Okay. The next one is, it says informational, but I think it will probably be one for agenda approval.
It's actually just informational because
Just
there's no,
informational.
yes,
Okay.
no fee with this. This is actually Southwestern Pennsylvania Human Services that does our assessment, our drug and alcohol assessments, and it's part of our student assistance program in general. It's just for
We don't have
information.
to adopt it. Okay. Thank you very much. I do move for adoption of resolution number 104 to approve Therapy Source Staffing Solutions client agreement, and we have done this in the past.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and second. Questions or comments on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes.
The next curriculum meeting, committee meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, January 21st, 2020 at 5:30 p.m. here at the CSC.
Thank you, Mrs. Haynes. Finance, I move for adoption of resolution number 105 to approve treasurer's report.
Second.
A motion on the floor and second. Questions or comments on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes. I move for adoption of resolution 106 to approve payment of bills.
Second.
A motion on the floor and second. Questions or comments on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes. I move for adoption of resolution number 107 to authorize homestead farmstead exclusion application mailing.
Second.
A motion on the floor and second. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes. I move for adoption of resolution number 108, approve gifts, grants, and donations. I would like to make a comment that the anonymous food service donation, a lot of people, that is for students' delinquent accounts. And a lot of people don't know that that happens, but a lot of people do make that donation. It is anonymous, and it's phenomenal that we have people in our community that would step up and do something like that. It's just great. That's my comments. So we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion on the floor and second. Questions or comments on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes. Finance Committee meeting was held this evening prior to executive session. Our next Finance Committee meeting will be Tuesday, December 2nd, 5:30 p.m. at the Senior High School Library. Facilities Operation and Planning. Our next Facilities Operation and Planning Committee meeting will be Thursday, December 5th, 3:30 p.m. at the Admin Building. Student Activities and Recreation, Mrs. Maines.
Thank you. I move for adoption of resolution number 109 to award bids for spring sports equipment and supplies.
Second.
A motion on the floor and second. Questions or comments on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes.
We also move for adoption of resolution number 110 to approve the 1920 school clubs, officers, and sponsors.
Second.
A motion on the floor and second. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes.
The next athletic committee meeting will be held Thursday, November 21st at 6:30 p.m. in the Senior High School Conference Room. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. I know I'm putting you on the spot. Mr. LaCassia, would you please handle the next?
Sure. The Latrobe and School District Parks and Recreation Commission meeting minutes are attached. And the next meeting will be on Thursday, November 21st at 4:30 at the Latrobe Municipal Building.
Thank you, Mr. LaCasio. Westmoreland Intermediate Unit, Mrs. Baines.
Yes. The summary of the WIU board meeting minutes from October 22nd are attached. The next WIU committee meeting will be Thursday, November 26th at 7 p.m. in the Fort Lincoln room in the WIU room. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Baines. Transportation. Just one thing I wanted to comment on transportation was that at the reorg meeting next month, we will have a vote for a new transportation contract. So I just want to make that announcement. Our reorg meeting is December 2nd. Transportation Committee meeting minutes are attached from November 7th. EWCTC, joint operating. Mrs. Kozar, please.
The minutes from the October 23rd meeting are attached, and they will have the EWCTC National Technical Honor Society inductions will be Wednesday, November 20th at the EWCTC. And our next Joint Operating Committee reorg meeting, which is the big one, is December 4th, and we hope you all can join us. It's important you're all there. And that starts at 5:45 with yummy food.
Can we
Just
just
a big flip to
Can
get
we just let Jody know tonight if we're going to that, rather than each of us having to reply individually to the mail? But before we leave, if we could just tell Jody?
That would work. That would work.
Okay.
Thank you, Mrs. Kozar. Board Policy Liaison, Mrs. Elder.
Thank you. I move for adoption of resolution number 111, which is the second reading on the board policies listed. There are 6 of them there, and as we said, these are all revisions of board policy that was already in existence in order to comply with changes in laws. Second.
We have a motion on the floor and second. Questions or comments on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes. Technology, Mr. Palmer.
Thank you, Mr. President. In the Technology Committee on October 15th, meetings are attached. And our next Technology Committee meeting is Tuesday, February 18th, here at 6 p.m. at the CSC.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. Superintendent's recommendation.
Thank you.
Dr. Tepper.
Thank you. I'd ask the board to please move on resolution number 112 to approve the resignations as stated.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion on the floor and second. Questions or comments on the motion?
I just want to say that losing Cindy Pompili is going to be a great loss to the district. She's a fabulous teacher. She's brought so much more to our students. Just by her mentorship of our students has really opened up worlds to them that I don't think a regular.
Thank you. Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes.
I'd ask the board to please move on resolution number 113 to approve professional personnel, which includes substitute teachers.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and second. Questions or comments on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes.
I'd ask the board to please move on resolution 114. Thank you, to approve support personnel as stated.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and second. Questions or comments on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes.
I'd ask the board to please move on resolution number 115 to approve support personnel, a supplemental appointment of a volunteer coach for our bowling club.
So moved.
Second.
A motion on the floor and second. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes.
I'd ask the board to please move on resolution number 116 to approve teacher leader position for the remainder of the 2019 school year. This is prorated for 8 months, and this is to replace Rachel Hahn, who resigned, and the recommendation is Kelsey Coates.
So moved.
Second.
A motion on the floor and second. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes.
And we have an additional resolution for the board agenda that came out of executive session. And that is resolution number 117. Discussion occurred pertaining to the need to provide support in our technology department. And I'm asking the board to please move on resolution number 117 to create the position of curriculum and software service assistant.
So moved.
Second.
A motion on the floor and second. Questions or comments on the motion?
Yeah. If we approve this motion, does the administration intend to advertise for this position very soon?
Absolutely, tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Also, from the public, you can also comment on this also, because it was not on our agenda. So if anyone has a comment or a question, they can ask now. Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes.
Okay, other business, as we look ahead, 'tis the season here coming up for the holidays. We do have Breakfast of Champions on Thursday, November 21st. Again, anybody is welcome to come. It's a wonderful breakfast held here at the Center for Student Creativity, recognizing our students who possess the 40 developmental assets. We have Breakfast with Santa, which will be held December 7th in our Commons area, which is a tradition here at Greater Latrobe Senior High School. We have our Bagley Holiday Concerts, as stated, December 5th for our choral concert and December 10th for the band concert. Latrobe Elementary School holiday programs are all combined for Thursday, December 5th at various times from 6 o'clock, 6:30 to 7 o'clock. 5th and 6th grade band, as well as 5th and 6th grade choral concerts. Our Mountain View Elementary Band and Choral Holiday Concert, Wednesday, December 11th at 7 o'clock p.m. Our Junior High School Winter Concert, Tuesday, December 10th at 7 o'clock here in our high school auditorium, followed by our Senior High School Band and Choral Concert on Thursday, December 12th at 7 o'clock. Also, great privilege and honor to have the River City Brass Band Holiday Concert that we will be hosting Friday, December 13th, and our students at the senior high school in the choir and the chamber choir will be participating in that concert as well. Tickets are still on sale. It'll be a wonderful evening. We will be holding our reorganizational meeting on Monday, December 2nd at 7 o'clock p.m. here in the Center for Student Creativity, followed by our Committee of the Whole meeting at 7:30, and our regular board meeting Tuesday, December 17th at 7:30 p.m.
Thank you, Dr. Tipper. At this time, I'd like to open the floor up to hearing of visitors part 2. This is where anyone can come to the podium, state their name and address, speak to any concerns they may have.
My name is Andrew Repko, 4050 State Route 982. I spoke at the board meeting last week questioning the donation from DMJ. And my question this month is, it was less than an hour when I was home, and I got a text from my supervisor stating that a member of the transportation department texted her a question if I worked for AJ Motors. And my question is this the board's attempt to keep the public from speaking out of meetings, to harass somebody at their former place of employment? Or is this just a rogue office that took matters in their own hands? I guess we don't have an answer.
Say neither.
Well, I would like for the board to do a formal investigation and get back to me on it. Dr. Teppert has the information. So, and she has my email address. Any questions for me? Thank you for your time.
Yes, I did receive an email from Mr. Repko, and I did respond back to Mr. Repko as well. And being that it's a personnel situation, I could not get into details, but I did respond and I did investigate. As well as reviewed with the solicitor.
And you will recall and I'm sure you didn't mean anything by it, but when you came to the last meeting, you came in and essentially suggested that gifts were made to the school district. And wait.
No, that's not what I asked. I asked if it was
May
appropriate.
I talk, sir?
Go ahead.
You were done, let me talk. No, you came in and you asked about gifts that DMJ made to the school and suggested that you had some concern that somehow that was going to affect the decision on the school bus contract award. So, I mean, I'm just reminding the board about what you said.
Okay, that's right, and I did. I questioned that if it was appropriate to accept the gift of that donation. And the paper put in the amount of gift, we had no idea what it was. I was just questioning that. But there is no reason for somebody to speak out of school board for a member of representative to contact my supervisor. 8:40 at night, I get a text from her wanting to know if I was at the school board meeting. And I went. And should she work? I think that's inappropriate. And I did get a response back from Dr. Teppert. She said it wouldn't affect the contract. And that wasn't my question to her. I had my question to her via the email, I'm sure she shared it with you guys, was why did they contact my former employee?
Well, you want to ask your boss who contacted her, let us know.
It was Margie.
Who?
Margie. And she wasn't even here at the meeting. I laid that all out. For the record, I don't work for A.J. Myers anymore, so you don't have to call them.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing no one, I move for adoption of resolution number 118, adjournment.
Second.
Motion on the floor, second. All in favor?